Nothing bothers me more. You know, his hair is bad. Let's face it, he's got bad hair. But you know what's worse than his hair is his mouth. His mouth looks like a chicken ass. You ever see a chicken ass? And he's always twisting it like this. It's the most vile thing. I mean, he's a vile man. Every word out of his mouth. He doesn't answer questions. He doesn't speak about the issues. He goes off on. He's a lot of peripheral stuff. Of hey, what? Don't look at that man behind the curtain. There's a lot of that going on with Donald Trump. Like I said, 5 minutes with Priscilla. Se le quitaba la gara. So I decided today, because I don't have enough to do, that we're going to have a pizza party. And I have a couple of little tricks that I use to make my pizza experience a little easier. But I'm going to start out. My first cheat is getting frozen dough. What you want to do is you want to flour your board. And you want to do this enough, because the last thing that you want to do is to have this this dough stick. You have your dough, you pat it out, and you keep turning it. You want to keep spreading that flour around, and if you need to, you can add more flour. And then my second little cheat, because I love those guys that like throw it up, spin it around. Yeah, I don't do that. So I have my silicone rolling pin. Look at that, isn't that pretty? And I'm going to roughly make the dough the size of a large skillet or frying pan, and this lets me put the toppings on without everything falling all over the place when I finally put it on my baking steel. Which, if you don't have one, like, ask your relatives to buy you one for your birthday, because it's like the best thing ever. Okay, so I have my dough. I'm going to drape it over my rolling pin, and that's going to help me transport it. And then we're going to kind of like just shape it into the frying pan. See, it's not sticking. It's forming almost like a shell. I want to get this on the stove before it falls apart on me. So you flour your board a little bit, because when we put it on the steel, I don't want it to stick to the steel. So this will keep it nice and loose. So I've blanched and shocked some broccoli de rabe, and I've squeezed it dry with a towel, because I don't want water on my dough making a hot mess out of everything. So I'm just going to roughly chop the broccoli de rabe. I'm going to drizzle the olive oil just a little bit. I'm just going to rub that on the pizza. So then I have my broccoli de rabe, which I will sprinkle, and I have some cooked, crumbled hot sausage. Hot sausage and broccoli de rabe is one of my favorite combinations in the whole world. I could eat it with pasta. I could eat it in a sandwich. I could eat it on a pizza. And then I'm going to add some slices of garlic. And I'm going to add some red chili flakes. We're going to gild the lily, and I'm going to add some fresh mozzarella. Now I'm going to take the pizza, and I'm going to move it to my board. You see it slide right out of the pan. We'll go over to the stone. Wait till you see how gorgeous the stone is. The cheese is melted. The greens are still nice and bright and green. The garlic is brown and golden. The sausage is... I'm spitting all over this thing because my mouth is watering. Let me get the slicer and let's taste. Listen to that crust. Woo! The crust is thin and crispy. Oh.
Do you remember the first time you had pizza?
Mm-hmm. My abuela took me in my neighborhood on Church Avenue. She would take me. I was always a wiry little kid, very strong, too strong for a girl, I think. Well, maybe that's silly to say, but I remember I had I have a cousin, Richard, who's a year younger than me, and he was the first boy born into the Martinez clan, because my first uncle had all girls, and then my mother had 2 girls, and then when my father's youngest brother got married, he had a boy, and it was, you know, like he was the Christ child. But my father was not having any of it, and so he, you know, my uncle would visit with his wife and his son, and my father's thing was, well, my daughter kicked your son's ass, and I'd be like, oh. And the funny thing is that my mother always had my hair in like little banana curls, so I looked like this little Shirley Temple demon child, you know. And then my male cousin would cry, and my father would sit back in his chair with a Marlboro in his, you know. You see, she doesn't need a penis. She's awesome. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, but I remember my abuela would take me. I went right off on a tangent there. Abuela would take me with her when she went shopping, and as a treat, she would stop and buy me a slice of pizza. And I get emotional because when I was in college and had my first son, she took him for his first slice of pizza. There was a pizzeria on 7th Avenue that isn't there anymore, but she would take him for pizza there. She was awesome. Happy now? Happy? You made me cry? You know, I don't know what's happening to me. You know what it is? It's when you're a teenager, you got teenage hormones, and then you get married and you get pregnant, you got pregnancy hormones, and then you go through, you know, menopause, and you got menopause hormones. I don't know what the hell I got now. These are like old lady hormones. I find myself like, you know, crying at nothing. Like the other day I was coming home on a trip. I'm gonna get talking about pizza. I'm like, could you ask me a question, please?
So!
We're gonna add some beautiful sauteed onions. And, you know, there's nothing that is more delicious or easier to mess up than sauteed onions, because if you cook them too fast and too hot, what you're going to end up doing is burning them, and they turn bitter instead of sweet, and that is just a crime against God. And these I roasted myself, just like my abuela used to do in her kitchen. But I'm telling you, I can't ever do this without thinking of that. The smell in the kitchen was absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so we have peppers and onions. We're off to a good start. And I'm going to just, let's sweeten the pot a little bit. What do you say? How about we put a couple of dollops of fresh ricotta cheese, and that's going to play, I think, off beautifully with the sweetness of the sauteed onions and the richness, the spiciness of the sweet roasted peppers. Anybody mad at me yet? And I'm just going to give this a little sprinkle of herbs, a little oregano, basil. Ooh, you could also add some beautiful smoked paprika to this to really, you know, to really make it pop. Let's just add a little bit of mozzarella to hold it together. And usually when I go to my butcher at Paisano, I buy those beautiful chorizo links, but that I'll save for, like, you know, when it's the main event, not for trimming on a pizza. These are gorgeous. These are chorizo slices, and I'm just going to make little roast. Oh, the smell! What's going to happen is it's going to release the oils into the pizza, and the onions and the peppers are just going to sing. This is really delicious. And I have my steel I'm telling you, that steel is so hot that the pizza, when you put it in the oven, kind of jumps up like this. Ouch. Like when you get into your car on a hot day. That's pretty as a picture. You should be smelling what I'm smelling is the issue. It smells amazing. And we're just going to give it a minute to cool, because the ricotta, if I were to cut it right now, it would be too runny. So we're just going to let it set up a little bit, and then we're going to cut into it. I like it plain, just like our second pizza that we had. And I always add red pepper flakes. For me, but it's got to be done right. The crust has to be crisp, like crisp. Like the pizza that we just made, not for nothing, that was pizza from paradise. That was exactly how I like my pizza. Wine has never been a cool thing in America because Americans are so intimidated by it, but I think that trend is changing very quickly. I think millennials today are realizing that wine is delicious. It is not just something to quaff mindlessly. They're wanting to know more about the varietals, the different grapes, the terroir, where the things are grown. They're really curious about the particulars of the wine. So I think that the shift is changing. And wine with pizza, I mean, my goodness, what could be bad?